So thank you so much for joining us for National Media Literacy Week. This is day 5, which means this is Friday, and we are all about action. We're going to focus today on how to speak up without starting a showdown, but we'll also cover a few other things. I'm Jenny Garman with the Kansas City Public Library, and we are a proud partner of the National Association for Media Literacy Education, and really excited to be closing up our first Media Literacy Week. Thank you. Oh, and I'm joined also by Miranda Pratt, who is awesome and will be monitoring chat and putting some links in there so that we can kind of keep this rolling. Before we go too much further, you are probably aware that the event is being recorded. That means that your comfort level is up to you. Please feel free to keep your cameras off or leave if you need to. We will have captioning available after the video is posted to YouTube. In the meantime, please let us know if you have any access issues or if there's any accommodations we can help with. We'll do our best to help. But without further ado, let's get started on how to speak up without starting a showdown. I'm so grateful to the News Literacy Project for this particular poster. I think Miranda is going to be dropping the link to it in the chat so you can follow along with these 6 best practices. We joined with Consensus KC earlier this year, it was February, to share the same information. And we learned a lot sharing that information, and I've incorporated feedback, especially how to talk with people you care about when there are issues, even if you're not going to be fact checking them, even if you're not going to be sharing that information with them. We were asked in February, can't you help us rescue family members or friends who are in a conspiracy theory rabbit hole or lost to a cult. And we're really still not in a position to be able to do that. But I hope that these steps and that these resources will be helpful for you and your media literacy endeavors. 2 key takeaways from today's session is that you can thoughtfully share facts with people you care about when you're ready to have that conversation and they're ready to exchange ideas with you. And the second part is that you can report misinformation when you see it online. I really will, as you can tell, I'll be focusing on how to speak up without starting a showdown, but the second part is just as important for that action. Before we really dig into this, I wanted to share a quote from Dr. Danagela Young. She's an associate professor of communications at the University of Delaware, and she was interviewed earlier this year by NPR's Audie Cornish. And her quote is to do the cost-benefit analysis, as hard as it is, because to understand whether or not it is worth it for you to take this road, because it will not be easy. This is going to take a lot of work. This is going to be something that's going to take a lot out of you. This will be, you probably, if you're in this call or if you're watching this recording, you're probably going through some tough times right now. And so just being aware that this is going to be a long road, not an easy road. But once you make a decision to go ahead, it can still be difficult to start that conversation. You simply can't go wrong with being civil. In that same conversation with Dr. Young, did you get a chance to put that in the chat, Miranda, the NPR one? If you could, thank you.
Is it the quote? Sorry, Jenny, I don't see a link, but is it the quote?
Well, no, I'm just going to read that one out. I have
okay,
it.
Cool.
It's okay. I'll share it. I can share it later too. But
cool.
The quote, and all of these are quotes I'm attributing to Dr. Young, is come at them with unconditional love, as hard as that is. That's a repeat from before. As hard as that is, reminding them of the pre-existing bonds that you have. I was on a call just the other day with people who felt they had lost a member of their family, that there was no engaging with them. And sometimes it's just reconnecting. You remember that time on that road trip, you and your brother, however you can do that, but just kind of remembering each other. You surely can't go wrong with using an empathetic and respectful tone. And Dr. Young says, do not mock, do not use snark, because all of, if you're making fun of crazy QAnon supporters, or you're making fun of crazy whatever supporters, it's just going to reinforce their sense that they are disrespected and maligned, that you're not respecting them. So again, you need to prepare yourself for this conversation. Are you really ready to listen, or are you so convinced that you're right that you really aren't ready? So we all have biases, and we just all do. If you're there just to tell someone that you're wrong, you're not ready for the conversation. And at the same time, if the person that you're talking with comes back at you with that aggressive or sarcastic language, they're not ready either. And it's just best to let that go. So civility, best practice number 1. Best practice number 2 takes us back to earlier presentations. We were talking both in the analysis and in the evaluate days, talking about pausing and taking that step back. That what we want to do sometimes as a human being is just like, damn, you posted this, I've got something for you. Or and that's not going to help with this kind of a conversation. So we're going to pause, we're going to take that breath, we're going to take that step back, and we're going to do our homework. This is about researching the claim that your loved one has shared and finding reputable fact-checking organizations, credible expert sources to share. And the News Literacy Project points us directly in the poster directly to the International Fact-Checking Network, and I'll talk some more about them. But basically, if you are looking at fact checkers, you want to make sure that they are part of a professional group. And what I mean by that is that they adhere to standards, to ethical standards. So, and the more claims that you can find, the more links, the more fact checks you can find, the better. Because, and we'll get to that, I think, in the next slide right here. Oh, not this one, we'll get there. In any case, so this is best practice number 3, finding common ground. This is part of what Consensus KC does in Kansas City, in our region, but it's something that's going to help us no matter what. Try putting yourself in your loved one's shoes. And John Silva from the News Literacy Project highlights this in one of his articles online. And this is the quote I think I really wanted to share here. The person you care about did not develop these beliefs overnight. Your friend or relative may have joined an online community of believers and soon become immersed in their echo chamber, especially during these times where we're at home a lot more, where we really do sort of feel sequestered because of the pandemic. We are by ourselves, we are looking for a community. And when we find validation somewhere, or we find community somewhere, even if it's not in a good place, we tend to want to stick there. But you know this person, you care about this person, so you can assume noble intent. They've posted something, they don't mean it out of anything else but noble intent. One of the ways that you can try to connect with them, again, is figuring out, do we have common ground in what drives us in our lives? Do we have common ground in the hopes and concerns that we have for our family, for our community, for our neighborhood, for our country? These are big issues right here. So we're going to take a little break, look at the waves, and I'd like to ask if anybody is comfortable sharing experiences related to what we've talked to so far. And I'll just leave it open there for just a moment. Or if you have any questions, this is a good time too. While we're just taking the breath and kind of thinking about this, I can share that in my own experience, people have shared posts with me, and I really do kind of want to bounce right back with a quick link, with a quick fact check. And it's not always the right moment. It's not always the right time. So even if it's not something that happens right in that moment, just having that kind of space where you can take that deep breath and say, you know what? I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back to this. But let's talk about best practice number 4. And that is laying out the facts. You've done your homework. And here we go. Don't just, come back with a post or with a reply that just shares a link to a fact check. You want to summarize what you found and then add the link. Namely had a great Ask Me Anything on Reddit this week. And one of the answers to how to have a conversation with someone who believes misinformation was engage the person in a conversation that details how they arrived at the belief that you want to dispute with them, what information informed it, and why they believed that information was credible. So let them show, so you're going to show them what you found, let them show you their information too. I brought this up earlier, and this is where I'm going to bring it back. The more information that you have from credible sources, the better, because sometimes people that we're talking with want to say, oh, everyone knows CNN is this, or everyone knows that, trying to think of one other place, is this, but having more fact-checking organizations on your side, if you will, can really take away the argument about that one fact-checking organization. Best practice 5. On the poster, which of course I'm a huge fan of, it says public or private, right? But you can do both. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, and it's somebody you care about and you want to just put a stop to the misinformation, consider whether or not you want to have a direct message with that person to go into more detail. But maybe if you're on Facebook or you're on Twitter and you have a lot of you have a large community following you, for example, you could just say something like they have in the poster. Not so sure that that's right, which isn't quite as aggressive as you're wrong, but still calls out there's an issue here that I'm gonna just leave a marker at. Like not everyone is agreeing with this post. I'm one who doesn't agree with that post. If you're at the dinner table, if you're at the barbecue, you really have to prepare yourself for that conversation. And sometimes in the spur of the moment, you're not quite ready to do this sort of an interrogation, if you will, of what are your informations? What are the date of your informations? What sometimes it's better just to push that off. And we're back to John Silva here. Again, he's one of my favorite folks. He coined the phrase, this approach of patience, empathy, and persistence. And it goes with what Dr. Young talks about. This is not going to be done in one shot necessarily. It's not necessarily going to be you winning, but this is something where you're presenting your information, you're making your case, and sometimes just highlighting for someone you care about. I'm not sure if you were aware that this has been classified as misinformation. But the thing that we have on our side when we're talking with friends and family is that research shows you're more likely to believe that fact check when it comes from somebody you know, as opposed to from someone who's not, who's just a faceless person online, or who's just a talking head, if you will. These are some helpful phrases. You'll see they're taken directly from the poster, and I have actually found the very first one up on the left-hand side to be pretty helpful. All of these are intended to show a level of respect for the person that you care about, because so often, if they don't feel that level of respect, they are not going to be quite ready to listen to what you have to say. So, but here are the helpful phrases from the News Literacy Project, and we have a really great, I have some more resources to share with you, but is anybody feeling brave enough to talk about ways you might have found to engage with someone who believes differently from you, or if you have ever been able to actually bring up to a friend or a family member that they've shared misinformation?
Jenny, it might be a good idea to pause the recording here and then we can have a conversation, put it back on.
Let's do that.
Cool.
So here we are back again, and I appreciated the conversation. One of my favorite experts on this is Dr. Claire Wardle. You'll see she's the co-founder and director of First Draft News, and they are a great resource on misinformation and disinformation and how you can combat it. So I'm going to take you on a quick trip here. Hopefully this will work nicely. To my page here where you can see some things. Let's see. Can everybody see this okay?
Right now, I'm having a lot of friends contacting me saying, Claire, I need your advice. I'm in a family WhatsApp group and people keep sharing misleading content. I don't know what to do. It's really important that we all work with each other to ensure that we're not sharing false content. It's really tempting to just press mute so you don't have to see your friends or family posting problematic content. But right now, unfortunately, we can't do that. We've actually got to talk to one another about this. And so here's some guidance. Hey Bob, I saw what you posted on Facebook. I just need to let you know that it's wrong. Anyway, here's an article that shows that it's wrong. So anyway, if you could delete it, that'd be great, thanks. In that scenario, Bob has just been made to feel bad about himself. You've kind of shamed him, even though you didn't mean to. But Bob has two choices. He either says, yeah, you're right, I was wrong, I'll delete it. Thanks for letting me know. But actually, the psychological literature says we are more likely to double down.
I'm going to go ahead and try that again. I'm so sorry. Bear with me just a moment. Thank you, Renee, for letting me know that that was not working out okay.
Contacting me saying, Claire, I need your advice. I'm in a family WhatsApp group and people keep sharing misleading content. I don't know what to do. It's really important that we all work with each other to ensure that we're not sharing false content. It's really tempting to just press mute so you don't have to see your friends or family posting problematic content. But right now, unfortunately, we can't do that. We've actually got to talk to one another about this. And so here's some guidance. Hey Bob, I saw what you posted on Facebook. I just need to let you know that it's wrong. Anyway, here's an article that shows that it's wrong. So anyway, if you could delete it, that'd be great, thanks. In that scenario, Bob has just been made to feel bad about himself. You've kind of shamed him, even though you didn't mean to. But Bob has two choices. He either says, yeah, you're right, I was wrong, I'll delete it. Thanks for letting me know. But actually, the psychological literature says we are more likely to double down on our beliefs when somebody tells us that we're wrong, if it's done in the wrong way. So a better way to go about this is to actually kind of say to Bob that you're all in this together. Hey Bob, I saw that you posted something on Facebook and it's really interesting because I'm seeing a lot of similar posts right now, but I'm worried that people are targeting our community right now. I mean, we're all seeing these messages, but I worry that people are doing this because they're trying to scare us right now, or I'm really worried that people are doing this because they're trying to make money off the back of a pandemic. And I just don't think that's good. Using language that's empathetic, using language that's about how do we get through this together is a much more effective way of affecting friends and family who are right now sharing problematic content.
So that was First Draft, and I'm going to go back to sharing the slide deck here. I hope you all got to hear that okay.
Walmart's Black Friday deals for days.
No, you
Get
don't.
$87 Chromebooks and score other huge deals all week long.
No need to do a commercial there. I beg your pardon. Sorry about that. Oh. So we were just visiting with Dr. Wardle there from First Draft News, and she's amazing. And what I'm going to do right here, hopefully you can see this one. Yes? Can I get a thumbs up somewhere? Are we looking at the international fact checking?
Yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. Sorry for all of the fun there. So that's one way you can talk with friends and family. I thought that she did a great job of just explaining here is a good approach and here's a not so good approach. And so if you're going to take fact checking, if you're going to take the route to fact check and to do your homework and everything, again, just like the News Literacy Project, I really encourage you to check out the International Fact Checking Network. They launched in 2015. They have more than 100 organizations worldwide that you can use as resources. And they not only fact check, they are also monitoring trends, because fact checking is something that's been around for a long time, since the world of muckraking and everything. But this is a much broader community where you can really have a better sense of, well, what's a better way to do this? How can I communicate this better? I'm highlighting here that they have resources related to COVID-19 and to politics and to voting, but also they have resources that are specific to seniors, because there's going to be a different approach and a different way that you would like to talk with seniors who haven't been born digital than you would for those who were, for Gen Z, for our 9 to 24-year-olds. So I highlighted the Teen Fact Checking Network before. I highly recommend them for younger folks who want to see how their peers are navigating this world of information. So this is the part where I'm including some more information, because sometimes fact checking isn't necessarily going to be what you want to do, because if what you really want, if this is a quote here from an article that I think it's Colin Dickey wrote, but if the victory is sustaining the relationship, and I think Kim, as one of the folks mentioned, it's that persistence, it's that the keep going, that instead of being confrontational about it, you say, okay, this is the claim that you've just made. Let me paraphrase this back to you. Let me clarify that I'm hearing you correctly. And the quote is, be much more curious than furious. Even though somewhere deep inside you're raging mad, what you really want to do is try to reach that person. Your loved one feels heard when you take this approach, when you have this paraphrasing, this active listening. And then chat can mention, listen first. And again, we're at step 2, and this is agreeing or praising. And we had this shared also in the private conversation, where it's find that common ground, find something you can agree on, even if, as we mentioned earlier, it's just remember who you are to each other, remember who you have been to each other. And that's some common ground. And if you get to step 3 and you're able to, and again, this is not necessarily sequential, this can be a long journey, this can be a long adventure that you have. But at step 3, perhaps that other person, that person you care about, is open to hearing what you have to say. And that's where you can share your perspective at step 4, or you can get deeper into that conversation and say, I just still don't quite understand why you believe this when everything that I know about you says this, or something like that. But it's creating that environment where you have that relationship, where you can sustain that relationship. And this comes directly from Braver Angels. And they are all about bridging, all about making that bridge happen from people who think very, very differently from each other. And I think you can, yes, thank you very much. Perfect. Thanks so much, Miranda. So let's get to another kind of action here, because sometimes it's not so much speaking out to close friend or to a family member, sometimes it's, I see this and I know it's misinformation. I know this is disinformation. What can I do about it? This is a really helpful chart. It's from the World Health Organization. And they created this to make it easy for people to get COVID-19 information, disinformation, sorry, reported. And that's on all of these acts right here. So this is something where, whether you're on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok and you're saying, this is not okay. There's different, they'll lead you through different ways that you can report misinformation and disinformation. But I do want to remind everyone, I am the legal and government specialist for the library after all, that we do have a federal agency that takes this as its charge. It's the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. They're very active during the 2020 election cycle, and they still have information available about that, because of course we have ongoing elections through, ongoing elections. And election security is a national security concern. They have a misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation resource library that they share with local and state and tribal agencies. And it's there for us to use. It's there for us to use as a resource. And if none of this is something that fits what you need, what you're looking for, honestly, a keyword search in your favorite browser will generally bring up the information that you need to report information when you find it. So that's kind of the wrap up of today's conversation. Happy to pause one more time before I jump into talking about trust me. Anybody have any questions or any suggestions? Oh, perfect. We'll just jump right in. So this is a link right here to register for a community discussion for the documentary Trust Me. It's one you won't want to miss if misinformation and disinformation is important to you, because in this documentary, it's a feature-length documentary, so you'll definitely want to watch it before the discussion. It's available on Canopy. It is available for free right here at the Kansas City Public Library. I even wanted to just make that rhyme for a while, but in this documentary, you're going to understand a lot more about who creates misinformation and disinformation and why. And honestly, you'll also see real life impacts and how they really can be a matter of life or death. And it sounds very dramatic. It's because it truly is. So this is a powerful documentary, and I look forward to having this community discussion. So before we leave each other today, and head into the Halloween weekend, here's something special from the Cyber Security and Infrastructure Security Agency. Don't let misinformation sink its teeth into you, just because we've been talking about some heavy stuff. So hopefully you would enjoy that. And a huge thank you to Namely for organizing this Media Literacy Week, and to Miranda Pratt, to Liam Ridley, to the team at the Kansas City Public Library for really making this possible. That's definitely the end of everything I had prepared, but I really would look forward to, I'll stop recording. I look forward to continuing the conversation with you after the recording. So, does anybody have any other thoughts or any ideas that they wanted to share about misinformation or disinformation?
So I was hoping you could help address this as you were talking about the different ways to present alternative viewpoints to people that you love, and the actual method of presenting it, the words you choose. Rose said to me, that sounds manipulative. So I would just like some feedback on that. Because I'm like, yeah, you're not really wrong. But I thought maybe you could help me with that.
I think that's it's interesting because when you are coming and very insightful, and I appreciate that. When you're trying to bring somebody from a place of falsehood, they're like living in a world that's not real. And I'm not the expert, okay? I'm not like a psychologist or a psychotherapist or anything like that, but I would just say that you're going to use what you have available. You're going to try to make that connection to say, I remember you. Like, I know who you are. And this is not you. Like, you're in this completely other place. You're saying these horrible, horrible things. And that's not my experience of who you are and who you have been to me. So help me try to figure out where you're coming from. And then I'll tell you what I see on this other side of the looking glass, if you wish. Like, is it manipulative? I think there's another phrase for that, but I know exactly where you're coming from. I would argue really respectfully that people who get sucked into that world of misinformation and disinformation, they have been manipulated. And we can all be manipulated. We're all susceptible to it. And maybe I think of it more as a rescue than a manipulation. Like, are you manipulating someone when you try to convince them to come back out of a horrible place? Like, you don't want to be in there. No, it's going to get worse down the farther you go down that rabbit hole. Come on back out.
Like an intervention almost. I mean,
Yeah.
it has similarities.
I think of it more as a rescue than a manipulation. You're rescuing them from being manipulated. You're kind of just trying to say, I really want you to open your eyes. I want you to see, here's what in this very small bubble, because that echo chamber, like we were talking about, like the algorithms and how you get, and you'll see more of it. And trust me, they want to keep you, the platform, not they, there's not a mysterious they, but the wherever you are, whatever platform you're using, if it's Facebook, if it's Instagram, if it's things like that, they make more money the longer you stay on their platform. So their recommenders keep giving you what they think you want, or whatever it will take to keep you as part of, on their platform. The more you click, the more you follow the little clues, the little recommenders that they leave for you, they make more money. And you can get caught up in this echo chamber where all you hear is horrible things like that are wrong, whether it's QAnon or whether it's the COVID-19 conspiracies. You just keep hearing the same thing. All of a sudden, everyone is saying the same thing. And you'll keep hearing that same thing until you bust out the echo chamber. You bust out of that bubble by looking elsewhere. Well, let me just hang on just a second. Let me just go look this up, somewhere else. You get on a browser, you get on another platform, and you do that keyword search. And you're like, really, is everyone saying the same thing? Or is it only happening in this very small room where I am right now?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but
But in order to break that algorithm, you have to actively go seek other viewpoints out on that platform so you confused it.
Yes. So you confused it. So you've left whether it's the Google's algorithm, or whether it's Facebook's algorithm, you've left that. You have left that platform. You're trying somewhere else. It's almost like you get into like a group of like real life people, friends, and everyone around you, is saying, are you sure you want to be hanging out with them? Are you sure that's the right crowd? Are you sure? Because you've been acting different since you went with them, and it's not good. Like, you're hurting yourself or whatever. You really have to physically choose. I'm going to separate myself away from that group and just see, do I feel more like myself when I'm away from that group? It's almost, you know what I mean? Is that too far, a leap too far? I'm not sure. But
good.
I mean, you're the one who asked the question.
Okay, thanks.
It was a great question. I appreciate it. Yeah, so it's 12:42 already, and I've had a great time with all of you. I'm glad you could show up. I'm glad you could be a part of it. And please, any feedback that you have, any additional questions, you can, I didn't put it on the, oh yes, I did. And Jenny Garment at kclibrary.org. Just let me know. And I know Miranda's already ready to help too with their areas of expertise, which I'm thoroughly grateful for. But it's been a great week with all of you, and I'm just really grateful. So have a great rest of your lunch. Have a great rest of your Friday.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.